Hello, how are you? This is one of the two little receivers that comes with the Comica BoomX-D Pro. The other receiver is on my belt, and that's where this lav mic is going into, and the transmitter is over there on my little ZV-E10. And this thing has become my go-to wireless lav solution for a very specific reason. Let's talk about it. Okay, disclosures, Comica did send me this unit to review, but I get asked to review a fair amount of products. I'm a pretty big deal. But the thing is, what I do is when companies send me emails saying, would you like to review the product for your wonderful and gorgeous channel, then I make sure it's a product I was either previously looking for or one that I think will benefit either me or you guys a great deal. And this is one of those products, and it's because it has internal recording, and that, to me, the redundant recording is a huge deal. So that's why I'll tell you all the specs, and we'll hear the sound tests, and we'll talk about the different things. But the big selling feature for me with this mic over almost any other mic is the onboard internal recording. Now, DJI just released a brand new mic that has onboard internal recording, and the Rode Wireless Go 2 also has onboard recording, and this one is cheaper than both those things and comes with more accessories, which was one of the reasons that I wanted it. And there's only one other wireless lav system that does onboard recording as far as I know, and that is something called LensGo, but I haven't had a chance to test that one out, so I don't know how it compares to this guy, whereas this guy compares very nicely from all the tests I've heard to the Rode Wireless Go and the DJI mic as well. So to me, there's three big players: the Comica, the DJI, and the Rode. This one is the cheapest and has the best features for me, and maybe you guys too. Okay, so here's the Comica. I have the Comica set on plus 12 dB, that's as high as the mic can go, and my camera is at level 3, the preamps. So this is as much work as I can get the microphone to do, and the least amount of work that I can get the camera to do. Because normally when you're using mics and cameras, you want to use the preamps as little as possible in the camera, because the camera's preamps are not usually as good as microphone preamps. So we're just going to test that here to see now, because the ZV-E10 has updated everything, so the preamps are updated as well. So perhaps from the old A6000 series, I should say. So it may have very clean preamps these days. It's cold out. My lips are starting to numb. Now let's go do a proximity test. I will turn around and give you guys a wonderful view, and I will walk up this way and see if we break up, and then I'll go out, and I don't mean break up like romantically, we'll never do that, and then I'll go out in front of the house where it definitely will cut out. But I am recording this internally as well, which is my main reason for wanting this microphone. So here we go. I'm walking this way, just big lumberjack man with giant lats, walking confidently this way. Now walking out. Goodbye, everyone. Wind hitting the wind muff. And the wind muff has a little clip that you have in. Goes, and it's not the best. Now I'm here in front of my house where it's probably cutting out if I'm using the camera's audio. So I will switch to the internal audio, which certainly won't be cutting out because it's recording right on my chest. So now let's walk on back through the windy alleyway. Left my garage open. Neighbors can see all of my terrible stuff because my garage is falling apart. We need to replace it this spring. It's going to be a mess. And we're coming back in. How does it sound? How does it look? Huh? Is that good? So there you go, works perfectly well. In line of sight, it was great, but as soon as I got out in front of my house, it cut out. You switch to that onboard audio, you know, it's fantastic. You could just leave that stuck to the talent or the person that you are interviewing. Leave the record button on, and then they can just get in their car, and then you can hear what they really think about you. And you know what, Simon? I'm doing my best, okay? I'm doing my best. It comes with this nice little carrying case here where you can stuff everything into it. So of course that's the transmitter, the 2 receivers, the 2 wind muffs, the 2 lavaliers, and this cool little charging cable here. See, this thing is just 1 cable, so 1 cord charges all 3, and that is pretty clever. And then this orange cable here, when you want to take your onboard audio off the microphone, you can just plug the orange cable into that and into your computer or any USB-C capable cord. Comes with 2 little British hats here that you can stick on the unit itself. It just goes right over the top there with a little rubber thing. I kind of wish it would clip in, but the rubber seal is pretty good, and once you slip it over, I think it's pretty secure. It is it's not going to fall off too easily there, and that's where the wind muff. There's no wind muff, no furry wind muff for the lavalier mic, which I would prefer. I would like that, because this is how I don't like when these things drag down my collar, you know, making me look all sexy. I don't want that. You know, people, they get distracted, you know, by my beauty. Now, I will point out a glaring oddity, which is they say use a black cord that I'm using right now on my camera for Canon and Nikon, but for Sony and Fuji and Panasonic, they say use this orange tipped cord, but that is not true, at least in my case. So Comica, if you're listening, and you should be, you said you wanted my feedback, the black cord works on all the cameras. This works on none of the cameras. I'm using a Sony ZV-E10. I tried it on my Sony a7 III, tried it on my Panasonic GH5, and I tried it on my Panasonic G7. This orange cord only records into 1 channel, the right channel, and of course, that is no good. The black cord works great. It goes into both channels. So what I'm saying to you, Comica, is stop giving this cord with the camera. It is just confusing. You know, you have 1 cord for phones. That one has a gray tip on it, and that one goes into cell phones, the gray tip one. And the black one is just for DSLR or mirrorless. You do not need this orange cord. Do not use it. So as I said, it has the onboard internal recording, which is so fantastic. 8 gigabytes, you can get 24 hours. So if you are getting too far away from your camera and the mic drops out, or there's some interference and it drops out, or something happens to the audio going straight into the camera, then you can just record straight into the device. In fact, you don't even need to plug the device into the camera. It just operates as a recorder. So you could have 2 recorders walking around, just recording 2 different people with lavalier systems, not actually plugged in to anything, and you get 24 hours of recording, which is absolutely fantastic. The only drawback to that is there seems to be no way to change the volume on the recorder when you're doing straight internal recording without putting it on the camera there. So what you have is they set the levels. The levels are set pretty well, but if you have a super loud person or a super quiet person, then that might be a little tricky. But having the onboard audio is what I would consider a backup usually, and it is an absolute lifesaver if you're in a high-stakes environment. In other words, you can't lose that audio. You're taping some lady's special day. She's gonna want to hear how beautiful she sounds in her gown. But it does have a range of 100 meters if you stay within line of sight. I find after about 20-30 meters, if you turn your back to the camera, it starts to cut out a little bit, but then that's when you switch to the internal recording and you are good to go. So you can do a mono track like I'm doing right now, where you just have 1 microphone and it is going to 2 channels on the camera. You can do a stereo track where you can put, you know, 1 channel of audio on this microphone, 1 channel of audio on that microphone, mix them in post. So if the people have different volumes, you can set that very easily. Fantastic. And it has a safety track. If you're using the mono, the safety track, 1 of the tracks will be recorded lower than the other. On the left is recorded lower than the right. And then if you do the safety track while you're doing stereo mode, then both units will feed into 1 channel at 1 volume, and both units will feed into another channel at a lower volume, so you can do the safety track on stereo as well. You have 3 different volume settings: 0, 6 decibels, and 12 decibels, so you can monitor that with your camera's audio depending on how loud you want to set it. Oh, and I also forgot about the display that is on. This is a major advantage for the Comica over the DJI and the Rode, because they have a display right here where you can see your volume, you can see if you're recording, you can see if you're hooked up, and I just prefer seeing that on the little device itself, whereas the Rode or my Hollyland or the DJI, your receiver is just blank. And the price is a very reasonable $269 American when it includes all of those other things. You see, the Rode is $299 and does not include the lavaliers, and the DJI is $349. I just read. I'm looking at my note. $349 for the DJI, and that does not include lavalier mics as well. That does include a charging case, which I like, and I will get to that when it comes to the things I would change about the Comica. So in terms of things I'd like to see improved in the next iteration, as number one, get rid of that orange cable. In fact, do that now. Stop shipping that orange cable. I would like to see a wind muff that is a little more secure, also a wind muff to go on the lavaliers. I would like to see switches instead of the buttons, because you can just press the buttons. So if the buttons happen to get depressed, you know, it hasn't happened to me, but I can see how you could just press the mute button by accident. You could press the power button, the record button. So if those buttons are held down in your bag, something's pressing against them, or you're some dumb groom is just fooling around with this little device, there doesn't appear to be a way to lock these buttons. So at least a method for locking the buttons would be good, so that somebody can't fool it up, or switches the next time around. Also, I'm a huge fan of these types of charging cases here. This one is from the Hollyland, and when it comes to low stakes stuff, I am probably still going to be using the Hollyland a little bit. DJI does the same thing, so I think it's the way to go. And Rode, you can buy the ZG Cine charging case, which does the same thing. Of course, that's another extra cost for the Rode, another 50 bucks, and that doesn't actually come from Rode. But I think in the future, a lot of people are going to be using these AirPod type charging cases. And lastly, 32-bit float audio. Now, nobody has that, as far as I know, in terms of these lower priced consumer market wireless lavaliers. But, you know, I like the idea of the 32-bit float. In case you don't know, it is, it's just a way where you don't have to set your levels on the microphone. So if the person talking is loud or quiet, doesn't matter. In post, you can change the level to whatever you want. Now, if the person still screams too loud into the microphone, they can still peak the audio at the microphone level, but having 32-bit float definitely gives you a better option. Now, no DJI, no Rode, nobody has that. I'm just saying, Comica, you guys, why don't you be first, huh? Man, oh man, I would buy the hell out of that thing. So thanks to Comica for sending this thing out. It really solves a big problem for me, and maybe for you too. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, ask a question if you got one, and we'll see you again soon. Okay, bye-bye. How much lint do I have on the... You should never wear black shirts when you're doing videos. That's a good rule. I do it every time, every single time.